Did you get to watch America's brightest orange spring game this season in Stillwater, Oklahoma? No, you did not. Does that mean you don't get all of the awesome sauce nuggets of spring ball? No, it definitely doesn't. So let's talk cornerback. Let's talk spring and the MVPs. Don't be stingy now. Let's make sure we get this out there.
You are Locked On Oklahoma State, your daily podcast on the Oklahoma State Cowboys, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Howdy, y'all, and hello, all. Welcome back to Locked On Oklahoma State, your daily stop for all things cowboy and cowgirl related. My name is Cody Stovall. I want to thank you kindly for stopping by to make this your first listen here on Locked On Oklahoma State. We're available on all of your podcasting platforms and visually as well as YouTube. You can find me on Twitter at AllDayOState. Guys, help me help you. The reason I say that is, you can't really expect something to happen unless you ask for it. But you have to have a reason to ask for it. So my reason to ask you right here, right now, today, to like it, to share it, to subscribe, to hit the notification bell, and all that fun jazz is because I'm still seeing a significant amount of negativity and pessimism when it comes to this upcoming Oklahoma State's football season. I'm still seeing a lot of Oklahoma State fans that are okay with 6-6 and projecting 7-win season. And there's not very many people that seem to be standing on top of a desk, hooting and hollering that we're definitely winning more than 7 games. So again, help me help you. Let's spread the love out there because yes, we didn't get to watch a spring game collectively. But it doesn't mean there's not film. It doesn't mean that there's not a lot of things to be excited about. It doesn't mean there's not a significant amount of this spring that was way better than last spring. Even if you just went from a numerical standpoint and you talked about the offensive linemen, yeah, we're in a much better position than we were last year. But not only just numerically, also you're visibly seeing the talent. I do have some questions in regards to Jake Springfield. He's looked really good at right tackle. Don't get me wrong. And we got a small sample size of what Dalton Cooper is going to end up looking like. But the small sample size we got was more than enough. So him, having a little bit of a foot injury a couple weeks into spring, it actually, I think, ends up being a good thing because it allowed more guys to get more reps, which exploited some people like, let's call a spade, guys, Caleb Etienne. More guys got more rotation, and he failed to seize it, the opportunity that he was given. He had the opportunity to lock down right tackle, and he didn't do it. Okay, not a big deal. So we're talking net positives here. This is a net positive that Dalton Cooper went down with a very minor foot injury. It allows us to see a lot of these other guys, and not just Joe Mikulski or Taylor Materko stuck in one particular role. We're seeing guys like that get moved around. Cole Birmingham obviously has solidified himself as being a tackle. So all things considered, that position, not just numerically, but also on film, talent, right now, we look better. Not to mention, we end up going against guys defensively that are really going to mold our O-line this season. I still have some questions at center, but it's not bad. The reason I have questions at center is not because of some deficiencies at center. I think maybe it's because of what we're seeing on the other side of the ball, but we'll get to that in a second. Briefly, we have been kind of dropping some nuggets here and there about the cornerback position. So before we break down all of spring, let's see where we're at. This may end up being 2 entirely different videos. It may end up being that way. We'll see how long we go. But nonetheless, so let's go ahead and break down real quick the cornerback position. Now, everybody knows who we have coming back in Corey Black. Everybody knows that Jabbar Muhammad left Stillwater, Oklahoma to go to Washington of all flipping fracking places. That one doesn't make a lot of sense to me, but it's neither here nor there. And a lot of people were freaking out because Corey Black had a decent year, but he also got caught hand fighting quite a bit, or actually didn't get caught hand fighting quite a bit downfield. So even though he did get away with a lot of ticky-tacky stuff last season, this year he's had the ability to go up against a healthy Jaden Bray, a healthy Blaine Green, healthy and ready to rock and roll DeJon Stribling, Leon Johnson III. So Corey Black has been tested this spring, I would argue, more than he got tested last spring. And we already covered Jabbar Muhammad leaving, and I told everybody, just hold my beer and hear me out on this one. Ladarius Webb Jr. was already better than Jabbar Muhammad coming into Stillwater, Oklahoma at the cornerback position. And then we realized that we were pretty squared away at corner. We didn't need him at corner. Would he start if he was playing corner? Yeah, he would. But we don't need him there, so now he's playing safety, which is a position when you pop on the film makes absolute perfect sense. So Corey Black, he's had a lot of time in the system. He knows what to do. He knows how to do it. He athletically can get it done. If he can avoid the ticky-tack stuff, I think he's going to have a pretty good season. And he's more prepared this year than I think he was at any point in time last season. And then you look at some of the guys who have kind of burst onto the scene that are providing a really good look, even if it's on scout team. Somebody like Jordan Reagan coming from Bixby, Oklahoma. Now it's 6'1", 185. It's not like he's devoid of talent. He's not devoid of size. He was somebody last year that was actually pushing last spring and fall. Looked like, he was going to be able to compete. And nothing there has changed. He's still going to be somebody that is going to be an integral part of what we have as far as depth. And then you have DeKelvin Beeman. DeKelvin Beeman's somebody at 6 foot, 205 pounds who could maneuver all over the field. And we have kind of seen that. So he's somebody that we know could do a multitude of things, even if it's just not from the cornerback position. So to see his transformation just athletically into the body by glass that we all know and love, you see him pop up on film every now and again. So if he's going to be the quintessential scout team guy, then we probably have the best scout team in the Big 12, especially at that position. A name that just popped up recently, got another interception the other day, is Cale Smith. Cale Smith being from Midwest City, Oklahoma. It's really cool to see locals get some PT. Now at 5'11", 175, he's really the smallest of the bunch, but he doesn't play that small. He does not mind mixing it up a little bit. He doesn't mind sticking his nose in there on running plays. If he's asked to blitz, it almost looks to me like that may be the favorite part of his game. So again, we've talked about tenacity being a unifying word this season. He's a little bit of an embodiment of that. And ironically enough, he has to be, because he's not as big as most of the guys that we have at the position. I think DJ McKinney is going to surprise a lot of people. He's going to get a lot of playing time this season, as we already covered in one of the last scrimmages that was really highlighted by some of the recruits that were there, as well as some of the coaches and whatnot. DJ McKinney had a phenomenal interception, which took him back to his days of playing on the offensive side of the ball. He's a multi-sport guy that I know is going to see the field a lot this season. His name gets brought up quite a bit, and he pops out on film quite a bit. Cam Smith, somebody who did play early on as a freshman, and then he saw extended time last season. But even if you go back, look at the freshman film, see what he did in the Fiesta Bowl against Notre Dame, you could see the light bulbs obviously starting to click on. And at 6'2", 195 pounds, he also is somebody that is not afraid to mix it up. He was kind of a steal in the recruiting class, in my opinion. If you look at the film and see him play the offensive side of the ball, I think that may have been some of the discrepancies in his recruiting, because he wasn't an overly recruited guy. But you saw him play as a freshman. You saw him play a decent amount last season. And his progression has become so good, in fact, that is why we do not need Ladarius Webb Jr. over there at the cornerback position. We can potentially end up thinking Cam Smith for that. It also does mean that we trust Corey Black quite a bit more, and the level of competition he's been able to play against should pay dividends this season. Now, we all know about the Arkansas State transfer, Kenneth Harris, and much like, some of the other transfers that we caught a lot of flack for. Whenever you see somebody coming from somewhere like an Arkansas State, it's a step up in obviously talent, step up in competition to the number 3 Power 5 conference in the country. Would it be able to correlate? And the answer thus far is absolutely. So we do like to do some comps here and there. A comp to me for Kenneth Harris is going to be Tyler Patman. And everybody knows the career that Tyler Patman was able to have. And then on top of that, he was also able to carve out a little bit of a role for himself in the NFL. I see Kenneth Harris as being that mold of guy. And he too, kind of like, Cam Smith, because he is so versatile in what he can do. And the mental side of the game to him, it's already moving extremely slow. You would hope that in a transfer with, thousands of snaps, but it doesn't always translate. It does translate thus far on film at Oklahoma State University this spring. I know it's spring, so you gotta take it with a grain of salt, but he more than looks the part. And he more than looks like he's 100% ready to rock and roll and help Corey Black in any capacity needed. And if you notice, there's a name that we have left off, the name that we've saved for the end, because I asked several players, give me a couple names defensively that are going to surprise some people out there. And we already talked about one of them. Defensively, Jeff Robertson is somebody that's talked about quite a bit from a player's perspective. But the other name on defense that came up over and over again was Cam Epps. Cameron Epps from St. Louis, Missouri, out of Chaminade, at 6'3", 210 pounds, running a 4.4, who's a multi-sport guy. We know that we love the multi-sport guys because the versatility, it typically translates very well, especially to the cornerback position. And he's unique. So unlike Cam Smith, as far as just getting under-recruited, Cameron Epps got recruited to play a multitude of positions. Let's just say, obviously, we're going to be the ones that reap the benefits at the end of the day. But Cam Epps' name gets brought up all the time. Is it because he's 6'3", 210? Yeah, maybe. Is it because he likes to mirror his game off of a Cam Chancellor type of feel? Yeah, maybe. But you see the fact that he played quarterback for, 95% of his life show up all the time. It's not just the physicality. Physicality obviously is going to jump off the charts. The athleticism clearly jumps off the charts. But the cerebral side of the game is what stands out. There's multiple times this spring where he beats the quarterback and the wide receiver to the spot, i.e. he knew the route concepts. He had a pretty good idea what this route was supposed to end up being. So if the wide receiver didn't run the right route, or the wide receiver tried to cheat a little bit, his eyes and his body already knew what was going on, which is why he was able to beat the quarterback to the spot multiple times this spring. And I don't want to hear people say, well, Cody, that also can be an indication that our quarterback position is not all that we need it to be. Okay, maybe. And the quarterback position, it's obviously not settled by any stretch of the imagination, right? It's ironic there because there's days that Alan Bowman looks to be the heir apparent to whoever you want to name is the best to do it in Stillwater. But then there's days that you're like, wait, what? It's a back and forth, right? With Alan Bowman. And it's allowed the consistency of Garrett Rangel to shine through. But Gunnar Gundy is the one who is throwing the most touchdowns. And the red zone packages are much improved, it appears. But part of that is, again, because of what we have defensively. So who are some of the MVPs on defense? And are they built to help carry us through the entirety of a season? And with that, you guys already know, I got to drop in my friends here at Built Bar. Whenever I first got this job, you guys know Built Bar was, one of the ads that I always paid attention to, and it made me want to get some Built Bar and yada, yada, yada. So now it's really cool to be able to talk about Built Bar now that I'm finally able to be in this position. And if you guys noticed, Saturday we did drop the new flavor. So make sure you go to built.com and check that out. But if you're looking for a delicious snack and you don't want all the sugar, all the calories, all the crap fest that comes with it, and you want something that's a protein bar to legitimately taste like a candy bar, well, then you have to try Built Bar, guys. it really makes it easy whenever you're going out on the run, whether it be a baseball tournament, a football game, or whatever, you're taking the kids out to throw these things in a bag and be able to get out on the road. It really makes life a lot more enjoyable. And it's kind of cool and it's healthy and still tastes great. They're legitimately amazing. And what makes them so good is the fact that they're covered in 100% real chocolate. The flavors are absolutely crazy, off the charts, like churro, peanut butter brownie, cookies and cream. And if you ask yourself sometimes when you wake up, how does Built Bar do it? Well, partially only having 130 calories, 4 grams of sugar, and 17 grams of protein, all crammed into one bar. It definitely helps. Head to your nearest Walmart today to get your hands on some Built Bar, or you can also run to a Sam's Club if in bulk seems to be more your style. But go there today to Walmart, pick up a 4-bar box of cookies and cream, double chocolate bar, or coconut puff. Or if you live, again, closer to a Sam's Club and you like the bulk things, go grab yourself a 13-bar box. Hit all of the bad A flavors, brownie, peanut butter, puff, churro puff, cookies and cream. It really doesn't get any better than Built Bar. So go to Built.com, go to Walmart, go to Sam's Club. We're here for you. We're trying to make it as easily accessible as possible. All right. So who are some of the MVPs of the spring? Some of them I feel like I went back and forth on. Some to me are pretty clear cut. Okay, offensive lineman, not very clear cut. I think Noah McKinney looks pretty good. I do like what I'm seeing out of Jacoby Sanders, the Stillwater High School freshman, even though he has a ways to go. Jack and Dean, freshman from Arizona, was able to kind of to work his way in there. I still have some questions about Jake Springfield. Giving the MVP to Cole Birmingham would probably be the safe bet here. It almost seems like I'm picking too safe of a bet. But again, let's not forget, Cole Birmingham's had multiple injuries. So to see him come back and respond the way that he has, I think it's a good thing. So I think for offensive lineman perspective, I currently am going to have to go with Cole. Even though Queso Brooks is still grading out very well, I'm liking what I'm seeing out of Noah McKinney. Seeing the versatility in Joe Mikulski and Taylor Matirko, it's really cool. Have some questions about Jake Springfield, but it's good to see that position is not a big glaring need like it was last season. And as you saw, we already had a transfer there because he knows how loaded we are at that position. And let's go to the running backs. I think the most consistent to me this spring has been Jaden Nixon. Ollie Gordon clearly has the most upside, but I'll be honest with you, Elijah Collins has been a very, very, very good surprise. I don't want to creep into the territory of saying Jaylen Warren because he's not like hurdling dudes and doing crazy stuff like Jaylen was, but you're seeing multiple 60, 70, 80, even 98-yard touchdown runs from Elijah Collins this spring. Are you going to see Ollie Gordon bust it for 98 yards? No, you're not. But could you see Jaden Nixon do it? Yeah, because he too, just like Elijah Collins, have busted multiple long runs this spring. So if you had to roll out tomorrow, it's still a 1A, 1B situation. I would probably roll with Elijah Collins and Ollie Gordon as 1A, 1B. But Jaden Nixon has proven time and time again that he deserves more carries. So I think he's definitely going to see those this year. He's bulked up a decent amount too. So Jaden Nixon, to me, is the MVP at the running back position this offseason thus far through the spring. I think a lot of people would say Elijah Collins would obviously be a good nod here as well. But if you look back at some of the production he had at Michigan State, it's a little bit more expected, I think, than what people expect out of Jaden Nixon. So Jaden Nixon, to me, MVP, definitely thus far at running back this spring, although Ollie Gordon has not disappointed, and Elijah Collins looks every bit as good as advertised. Quarterback position, we've already talked about. It's gone back and forth, back and forth, back and forth, but it's a back and forth because of more of, I don't know, basically what Alan Bowman is not doing, which is being consistent. Consistency is going to show out a lot this season, in my opinion, at the quarterback position. Garrett Rangel has been the most consistent. Gunnar Gundy has shown the most upside. Zane Flores definitely is ahead of anybody we had as a freshman at this point in time last season or the season before. So all indications are he's coming along very, very well, and he's clearly going to be one of the glaring future prospects for Oklahoma State. But Alan Bowman at times looks like he's going to win us a Big 12 title, and then at times looks like he has no idea what route concepts are supposed to look like. And it's not from the wide receiver position, which we're going to get to. So if we had to throw an MVP out for this spring, man, you know, I got to say Gunner. He wasn't expected to do a lot coming back from the surgery that he had. And he's throwing multiple touchdowns on a darn near daily basis. And his fade ball in the red zone looks good. Garrett Rangel puts people in better positions for high point and things of that nature. But I think surprise-wise, MVP would be Gunner. The consistency from Garrett Rangel has been amazing, but he hasn't overtaken Alan Bowman either. So those two are continuing to battle out. Meanwhile, Zane Flores and Gunnar Gundy look really, really good, and the progression seems to be there. Wide receiver. So we have not done a breakdown of the wide receiver room quite yet. So I'm letting a little bit of a cat out of the bag here. If we were to ask the MVP of the wide receiver room a few weeks ago, it would have been Leon Johnson III. Like, he came in and he started off very, very, very well. As spring has gone on, it's not that Leon Johnson III has regressed per se. I think it's more of DeJon Stribling looking more consistent. Brennan Presley looks significantly different than when he got here, just from, a physiological standpoint. He's very chiseled, very cut, seems to have taken to the role that he's going to play in this season. Rashad Owens has actually, jumped up there and made some plays. Blaine Green's grabbed a few touchdowns. Arlen Bruce, he's somebody that we can use in a multitude of areas, not only slot position. You can even virtually see him as like an H-back. He does some stuff where he's coming out of the backfield. So clearly we're going to utilize him. But yeah, to me right now, it's got to be DeJon Stribling. I think a lot of us have buyer's not remorse, but we recall when Tay Martin came from Washington State, how he was nowhere near ready physically to be able to contribute. We're not seeing that from DeJon Stribling, and he's actually got quite a few moves in the open field that you expect to see out of a Brennan Presley, that you even expect to see out of an Arlen Bruce. So not only is he good enough to be a traditional Z, he could play the X if it was, needed, and it obviously is going to be to some degree. So he can take the top off the defense, but he can also burn you with his moves in the middle of the field. So MVP, wide receiver for me thus far, definitely DeJon Stribling. Again, although we like what we're seeing out of Blaine Green, Rashad Woods does make some plays here and there. The versatility of Arlen Bruce is clearly something that we're going to enjoy. But, I think for me, it's got to be DeJon Stribling right now. He's been a pleasant surprise. Then we move into the position that we know we're probably most loaded at, which is safety. This one's obviously very difficult. The pedigree of Kendall Daniels. You see what he can do. He almost gets cheated here because he's so good. You expect him to do these things. I would say the same with Lyric Rawls. Lyric Rawls is in a particular part of his career at Oklahoma State University where he's got to show up and show out. Ty Williams did a lot of really cool stuff. Raymond Gay II's got a lot of playing time already. And you see him popping up on film consistently, not being in the wrong spot, makes solid, consistent plays. He's got his hand on a few balls. He's got an interception already this spring. Nick Sessions has looked pretty daggone good. But for me, I think MVP this spring, it's either Trey Rucker. You know what? I am going to say Trey Rucker. Not to short Ladarius Webb Jr., and maybe Kendall Daniels and Lyric Rawls are getting screwed in this equation because I expect them to do these things. But, man, every time Trey Rucker makes the play, I get pumped up. It's almost hard not to get excited every time he makes a play just because of how he makes the plays. And Ladarius Webb Jr. is every bit as good as advertised. So, he's going to be an exciting one to watch. Tight end position. There hasn't been a whole lot, but it hasn't been necessarily negative either. If you were to pick an MVP from the tight end position, so far to me, it's got to be Josiah Johnson. He seems to have a better grasp of what we're trying to accomplish. He has a little bit more versatility to do a multitude of things. Ian Edenfield, I think, is more of a blocking tight end, but, you do see some of the defensive side of his film show up in this spring. So the learning curve may be a little bit longer with him, but maybe the upside is somewhat equal to what you're going to get out of a Josiah Johnson. But thus far, I like what Josiah Johnson gives us, and I like the fact that we can utilize him in the passing game, which we haven't never really seen Oklahoma State do since we lost Blake Jarwin, right? And since we're on the tight end position, I think it's only fair to flip over to the fullback position. Jake Schultz has looked good. He's definitely adapted to the role that he's in. I think Luke McIndoe is pretty good at helping give the fullbacks a decent look. But, guys, Braden Cassidy has not only looked good at fullback, but he's looked so good we're going to end up using him in other areas. So I think whatever role Braden Cassidy was going to be relegated to, what he has done thus far this spring, he's expanded that role already. So it's not going to be just simplistic for him. He's going to still have a little bit of a Cowboy back lingering effect on the production this season. And I think you're going to see that not only in the backfield, but also he's going to leak out of the backfield and may surprise some people there as well. The kicking game. It's still a little wild. Haven't done a lot of research. I haven't watched a whole lot. What I have seen looks pretty good. Nothing that's going to, wow everybody, but it doesn't look like we're going to be bad either. I do expect Alex Hale to have a pretty good season. Everybody kind of remembers before he got injured and he kind of gave way to Tanner Brown. He was the guy, and he was a pretty highly regarded recruit in the kicking game. So I would like to see it all kind of come together and work out for him. Obviously, we got my buddy Hudson Clark from Australia that I think should have a pretty good opportunity at punting this season because of the versatility that he himself offers, although Logan Ward didn't look bad. So it's going to be kind of fun to see how that shakes down. Let's go defensive line. There's not going to be a big surprise here. Give yourself a drum roll. Guys, it is Justin Kirkland. The dude is a mountain of a man. And the things that he can do are going to be pretty reminiscent of another fella that burst on the scene in the Big 12 last season. So from a defensive line perspective, Justin Kirkland definitely gets the MVP of the spring. But the irony there is it almost shadows how good Colin Clay. He's been battling with the turf toe, but even outside of that, Colin Clay's had a pretty daggone good spring. Anthony Goodlow, 4-star transfer to Tulsa. He's had a very good spring. It's just that Justin Kirkland legitimately seems to be that much of a difference maker to clog up the middle. If we can keep Justin Kirkland healthy, it's going to be really cool to see how this defense is able to fly around. Let's see here. What else we have left? We've covered safety. Oh, linebacker. My MVP for linebacker thus far. I really want to say Jeff Robertson because I like the story and he keeps getting brought up quite a bit, but he's still going to give way to what Xavier Benson's doing. You're going to see Justin Wright in the red zone be an absolute terror for anybody. So now it'll be fun this year. I almost want to welcome teams to the red zone. I mean, not really. I don't want to be a bend but don't break. But you're going to see people like Justin Wright step up massively in those really intense moments of the game. Xavier clearly looks like the unquestioned leader, just like, DeAndre Jackson over there at the running back side. People are sleeping on DeAndre as well. It's not that he's bad. It's not that he's not good enough. He's stuck behind a bunch of really good dudes. But linebacker, it's kind of like that as well. So I would be remiss if I didn't wholeheartedly admit that Colin Oliver is a dude. He was a dude at defensive end. He's a dude at linebacker. So, as much as I really wanted to go in a different direction, it's almost impossible to say anybody other than Colin Oliver. And again, maybe somebody like an Xavier Benson and Justin Ryder getting short into the stick here because they're expected to do X, Y, and Z. That might be the case, but nonetheless, there was some questions about Colin Oliver going back to that linebacker role. Those questions have been answered this spring. They're not questions anymore. All right, y'all. I think that's all we got for this one. It's been a really good spring. And it sucks that as a fan base, we didn't get to visualize a spring game. But at the same time, it's a net positive when you're betting. And one last thing before we get out of here, guys. Because we didn't get to watch a spring, please help get the word out, right? Help get the word out because this has been an amazing spring. But a lot of our fans are still doubting us, which means we got to share this video. We got to send out the people to subscribe. And we're approaching 750 on this channel. We're almost to 1,000 or 2,000 on Twitter. So we're getting there, but I know there's still a lot of meat on the bone. And I implore everybody, go check out all of the different sources. And you will see a difference. Anyways, I appreciate you all jumping on this ride. I love you all. God bless. Go Pokes. And as always, thank you very much for tuning in to make this your first listen here on Locked On Oklahoma State. Until the next one, alrighty, y'all. Later.